Why big brands are struggling with TikTok Shop and how to fix it. If you're an established brand and you're sitting on the fence and you are umming and ahhing whether TikTok Shop is the place for you, I've got some things I want to share with you that I've learned from working with a number of different brands over the last 2 years. I originally thought that TikTok was just for cheap products. It actually was for Gen Z. But actually, working with so many different brands and really understanding TikTok Shop, that's not actually the case. We're seeing products of high value selling on TikTok Shop, and we're seeing an audience that is aging up. And so what I want to talk to you today about is really talk with you as a brand that's established, where you're used to controlling the narrative, and help you understand why it's so key that you drop that old playbook and you rewrite those rules for TikTok Shop. So you're probably used to selecting the influencer that you want to work with and making sure that influencer sits within your client or customer persona. And you can't do that on TikTok Shop, which actually makes a lot of brands nervous, which I can completely understand because it's completely different. You are working with content creators and you don't control what they're saying. They are getting hold of your product, whether that's on an affiliate basis or you're working with them separately as a UGC model. And it's less about script. It's less about telling them what the narrative is and letting them experience the product and then talk about the product, do storytelling from their own experience. And that is actually what sells on TikTok Shop. People want to buy from other people. They don't want to hear what the brand says because there's always going to be an element of bias. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, but they're not going to follow brand guidelines, etc. That's true. They will not adhere to all your brand guidelines. But what sells on TikTok Shop is authenticity. So what it could be is that you could decide on the different affiliates that you want to create content for you. So you do get a bit of a selective process there. And also once they've created the content, you can decide if you want to boost some of that content with ads. And the ones that you don't necessarily feel that they fit as well with your brand, you don't have to push them anymore. But unfortunately, if you want to work with TikTok Shop, and we've seen success with brands, you have to get more uncomfortable and be brave with content that's more authentic, that might not 100% fit your brand guidelines. Now, one thing with TikTok is that it's social commerce. And what that means is that you've got the social side and also the e-commerce side. And that can be quite confusing from a reporting standpoint, but also in terms of the ROI that you get from that channel. Because it's brand awareness that you're creating to some extent, but you're also wanting to create sales. But what often happens with TikTok is that you might be selling that product on TikTok Shop. So you've got a shoppable video and you want to get that sale through that platform. But because the customer is so comfortable with purchasing elsewhere, such as on Amazon, what can typically happen is they engage with your video. They're like, yeah, I'm really into that product, I want to know more. But actually they end up leaving TikTok and going to Amazon and making that purchase. So often what happens is brands then look at TikTok and they look at the data and they look at the sales and they're like, this channel isn't making us any money. We're spending X amount of resource on this channel, but we're not getting the sales. The truth is you are potentially getting those sales, but you're getting them elsewhere. So a key thing if you're listening as a brand is never look at TikTok Shop in isolation, because what's probably happening is you might not be getting that sale on TikTok, but you're getting that awareness. So always remember that TikTok is social commerce. It is a social channel that's creating brand awareness. So always look at your data more holistically across all channels, because chances are you will see an increase in sales when you go live or do some kind of activity on TikTok on your other channels. A lot of brands think that TikTok is all about getting viral videos, which It's great if a video does go viral, but has it gone viral for the right reasons? Are you driving sales from that video, or is it because there's something in the video that's caught other people's attention, but it's not actually going to generate any sales? How you become successful on TikTok Shop is all about consistency. So it's not chasing that one video to go viral. It's about consistently showing up. And we see many brands going, I'm going to test TikTok. I'm going to give it 3 months. I'm going to give it 6 months to see if it will work. And then coming to the end of that period, looking at the reports and going, oh, the sales aren't there. Well, we already spoke about the sales are there, but they've purchased a product from another channel. But also you've got to give it time. You've got to give everything time, like on any other platform. You know, you hear all these stories that go, X did 2 million in 16 hours on a TikTok live. Great for them. But one thing that they haven't shared with you is the 10 years that they spent in building up that brand, the work that went on in the background to make that live a success. So always make sure that you're not going after that shiny success story that you've heard when it comes to TikTok, because chances are there's that consistency that's going on in the background. So it's constantly creating content, working with affiliates, boosting your videos with ads. And it's just taking that time to figure out what products work on TikTok and not giving up too soon. Yes, there's going to be a resource that you need to put in it. There's going to be an expense at the start. But one key thing that I always say is don't give up. Don't just give it a very short time frame, because it does take time to build up your business on TikTok Shop like it does anywhere. So there's no denying that TikTok Shop isn't chaotic. It is chaotic. It's a bit like the Wild Wild West. It's evolving and strategies are changing left, right and centre. But actually, if you are a brand that you're ready to ride that wave, chances are you're going to learn so much and you'll be ahead of the competition when all of a sudden everybody is on TikTok Shop. So if you're sitting on the fence right now and you're not sure, I always say just give it a go. But just remember those points that I pulled out. You aren't going to be able to completely adhere to your brand guidelines. You are going to need to let go. Don't have all of the red tape and approvals process that you might have with other channels. You've got to let your team be more free with the content. You've also just make sure you're not just looking at your sales in isolation, just solely on TikTok Shop. Look at what's happening outside of TikTok Shop on other channels. And also just make sure that you're giving it time. I did say sort of have a go, but when I mean have a go, you've got to give it significant time to make it work. And as I say, consistency is key. So if you are considering going on TikTok Shop, or you just want to have a bit more of a discussion, or just really understand what that cost could look like, or what sort of resource that you need, reach out to us at eCommercenurse.com. We have helped numerous brands get set up on TikTok Shop, put together a strategy and really go for it and really change the playbook and create new rules to sell within social commerce.